Sup, welcome to Tales Tomorrow. I'm Morrow, your storyteller for today, and with me I have some more RPG horror stories. It still doesn't feel real to me that the channel is 1 year old, though we are coming up to a 1 year mark of this channel being around. We gotta do something special for it. I don't know what, but if you have any sort of suggestions, let me know in the comment section below. Because I mean, after all, I do love reading the comments. But hey, anyway, enough about what I love. Let's get into some things that people hate, which are RPG horror stories. Well, people love RPG horror stories. It's a love-hate relationship, you know what I mean. Blair tries to coerce Gertruda into having sex with him in Curse of Strahd. DM here, so the campaign had been going relatively normal with the exception of a single player who at pretty much every turn does the meanest possible thing, special to the characters that happen to be women. He randomly picked up Irina and tried to carry her away, killed a very plot important ally, literally on a whim, and more recently used a hat of disguise to impersonate Strahd and coerce Gertruda into having sex with him. And it kept rolling really well until a Deus Strahd Machina the real Strahd into the room, stopping the encounter dead. I later made a joke about how his character's defining trait is committing violence against women, and he didn't deny it. Really not sure what to do with him. Edit. So yeah, he is definitely not coming back. With this being my first time DMing, it really hadn't dawned on me just how messed up the whole situation was until outside perspective made it kinda click. I admit I'm a huge pushover IRL, so it's really great to see people calling me out and telling me that it's okay to put my foot down. It's always okay to put your foot down. You're the DM, you're the defining factor of what happens, what doesn't happen, what people roll with and what people don't roll with, what people even roll in the first place to get a specific outcome. You can decide if something happens or doesn't happen. Just like you can also decide rocks fall, everyone dies. You are literally God of this universe that you're building together, even if you're running a module. But at the end of the day, as a DM, you also gotta know when to pull in the reins and make sure that players aren't doing something that's going to completely obliterate the entire pacing or the flow of the campaign. And there's some behavior out there that really needs to be reeled in really badly. But the only person that could do it is the DM. You can't expect other players to reel each other in because player agency and stuff. And yeah, don't let some idiot just get away with doing all kinds of things if you don't want them to do so, and allow them to roll for things. Here's the thing, right? If you allow players to roll for something that you don't want them to do, it still gives them a very tiny chance, but very possible chance of rolling good and be able to get away with things that they want to do. Even with what they want to do can be unsavory or honestly really disgusting at times. If you don't want a player to do something, you just straight up say it doesn't work. There's no chance, no rolling, no nothing, because that is the best way to reel somebody in. If you give somebody a chance for it to happen, that means you're okay for it to happen. If you don't want something to happen in your games, don't let them roll for it. Just simply say, nope, it won't work, doesn't work, this will not work at all for you. Simple as that. Keep it direct with them. Also, yeah, like everybody says, please put your foot down whenever you need to put your foot down, because that's actually really important for the DM to do. It's a very important skill to say no as a DM. Either way, let's get to the next story for today. DM's partner acts creepy towards child NPCs without repercussions. Trigger warning, child endangerment, violence, sexual harassment, and abuse. This story occurred just a couple of days ago and my head is spinning as to how things got so out of control so fast. For context, I was first introduced to D&D by a friend about 5 years ago. This friend was my first DM and he ran a campaign that lasted over several years that I genuinely enjoyed playing in. The group consisted of the DM, his partner, my sibling, their fiancé, my wife, and me. Eventually, I started running a game for the same group of people, but ended the campaign without finishing it due to some of the issues I'll mention below. I've never been a fan of the DM's partner playstyle, as I tend to play characters that are belligerent towards other party members and NPCs alike, who use violence as the first option for solving problems. Along with this player also brings topics and themes into their backstories and roleplaying that have made others at the table very uncomfortable. Some of these things have included, but are not limited to, sexually harassing other player characters, such as forcing herself between a PC and her girlfriend while they slept. I'm going to interrupt here because, yes, this is definitely not okay and I'm going to keep going, but I just want to say something and I feel like I need a little bit of a break to say it in between. I've seen DMing done right where you can have a partner at the game that doesn't get these weird special privileges. DMs that let this thing get away are awful DMs and you shouldn't play with these sort of DMs. Like, for example, Micah, my buddy Micah, the ASMR that like got me into like the Patreon pact and stuff. He, IRL, he's married and his wife plays in our D&D games, in our D&D server. And there's no kinds of things like that. She really plays on the same baseline as every other player does because it's the only fair thing to do. Her character does not get any sort of special treatment, special privileges. She has to work just as hard as any other player character and make sure to learn the game and everything. Obviously, we're not making it like extremely difficult or anything, but like there's no special treatment, no special privileges. Nobody gets special access to anything that is specific to our game. We want to make sure we do that because the last server we were in allowed these sort of special privileges. If, let's say, for example, you dated the main DM, or you were like what's the best way to say it, cuddle buddy without censoring with the main DM, we get special privileges for just cuddle buddies with the main DM, which that was not okay with us whatsoever. So when we made our server, want to make sure that everybody's playing an equal field, and it can be done. The problem here, I think, is a lot of these crap DMs allow for the partners to get away with this stuff without keeping them in check, without keeping them in tow, and making sure that there's players and there's DM, and then there's no special privileges in between. Basically, this is the only way to make it fair, is that make sure nobody gets special privileges. Anyway, bit of a ramble, sorry about that. Let's get back to the story. Starting an in-game romance with a DMPC who had been repeatedly described as being at the same developmental level as a child. Frequent mentions of child murder, including taking a PC hail from an orphanage that also doubled as a crime syndicate / child slavery ring, killing random NPCs in broad daylight and becoming argumentative when they were detained by town guard and taken to jail, using slurs repeatedly despite others telling them to stop. It sounds like your DM's partner just fucking sucks. Why do you have them in the game in the first place? They sound like they're unbearable. They should have been kicked out like immediately. Many of these incidents have gone unaddressed, but sometimes even defended by the DM. Understandably, the rest of the group lost interest in playing with them, and we went on to form our own group separate from them, which we have happily played in for the last couple of years. This brings us to the incident that happened recently. The DM and his partner are in the process of filing for divorce, but they're continuing to live together for the foreseeable future for financial stability and to be available for their children. After a long hiatus from running games, the DM invited my wife and me to join for a Dungeon Crawl one-shot with some mutual friends, which we agreed to do. We decided to host because the DM's family was in the process of moving. When the day of the session rolled around, we were both surprised to see that the DM had brought his soon-to-be ex along for the session. Things turned bad quickly after starting the session. While making preparations for our descent into dungeon, the DM's partner character propositioned 2 child beggars to accompany them into the dungeon in exchange for some of the loot that they would get. The rest of us were immediately uncomfortable. My wife made an in-character comment to the children along the lines of, "And that kid's is an example of a predator." The rest of us laughed, which hoped would put a stop to it before it went any further. It did not. Instead, the DM's partner doubled down, tripled down, and quadrupled down for the decision to take 2 children into a dangerous dungeon, where the DM made it clear that the chance of death were high. The rest of the group expressed our discomfort with this decision in several different ways throughout the session, both in-game and above game, but the DM allowed it anyway. To make matters worse, the player justified the decision by saying, "Haven't you ever heard of grooming?" as if it was an acceptable thing to do. Alright, hold on 1 second. Whoa, pump the fucking brakes. What the hell is this DM doing? Why are they allowing the partner to get over this stuff? And also, why does the partner have such an obsession with doing things with like kid-related stuff? It's just, this is some sort of a weird, sick, twisted fetish thing going on in the background that the DM just allows to happen without stopping it. And I don't know if it's a fetish thing or not. It just feels so weird to be fixated on wanting to make sure that, even to say outright, it's like, haven't you ever heard of grooming? That's not a good thing to say. Mentioning grooming is not gonna make you look good to anybody's eyes. What the fuck are you talking about? What is happening? Why is this given such a pass? Why is the DM just overlooking this completely? What the fuck is going on here? The DM defended this decision by saying that while the children wouldn't do anything that would put themselves in obvious danger, they would go along with the situation because it would mean potentially getting more money than they've ever seen before. At this point, my wife was fuming and made an excuse to leave the session before she blew up on them. I wanted to do the same, but I was too shocked to do or say anything. You should have left with her. Y'all should have left. This was not worth it in the slightest whatsoever. Eventually, the session wrapped up and my wife returned. We informed her what happened over the rest of the dungeon crawl and the loot we managed to find. The second she walked in, the DM's partner exclaimed to her, "See? Grooming works." What the fuck We're both disgusted with this player's continued and repeated violation of other people's boundaries, as well as the DM's failure to consider the safety of the other players at the table in favor of including his soon-to-be ex in the game. Needless to say, we'll not be accepting an invitation to play with them again anytime soon. Also, as a reminder, this partner that's given off some very hard PDF file vibes has kids. They have children themselves. And they talk about, see, grooming works. This is fucked. It's just fucked. I'm glad y'all left. I'm so glad y'all left, because this is fucked. Seriously, somebody call Child Protective Services, because honestly, I feel uneasy that this person that thinks, see, grooming works, has children. They have children, and they think this is okay behavior, whether it's in fantasy or not. I mean, honestly, I think this is a massive red flag. I feel like something might be going on at home that is just not okay to do. I'm glad you don't associate with them, but holy shit, I hope somebody eventually at some point finds those people and calls CPS to have them be investigated, because I feel so thoroughly uncomfortable with this whole situation. God, this is, I feel like I want to vomit. I feel like I want to throw up. Just because this is beyond benign. This is asinine. This is straight up asinine. Ugh. Right, I need a little break. How about we just end it right here? And with that, that's gonna be all our stories for today. I want to thank you very much for watching, and thanks so much for being here. If you like what I do, consider subscribing to the channel and leaving a like. Also, if the RPG Horror Stories ever goes down, or if you want to submit your own personalized horror story, email is down in the description below. I'll see you again in more Tales tomorrow. Bye-bye.